we as humans, if we don't know exactly where we are going, we are hardwired to walk in circles. Without a very clear vision, a very clear path forward, we will walk in circles. And that just stuck with me, resonated. So even more, clarity, vision. This is where we're going constantly. Let me tell you where we're going.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Modern Man. It's a pleasure to have you. We are excited, and we are right off of the Saluda River. Can't wait to tell you where we are. But first, let me introduce our panelist for the day, Jonathan Parker, joining us. Jonathan, great to have you on.
Always good to be back.
Yes, sir. And I'm excited to introduce our guest for the day, Kenworth Reeves Jr., owner of 13 Stripe. Why don't you tell us where we are? I want you to debut it, my man.
Let's do it. So we're sitting here. We're at a new location. The name's a little bit in flux, but we're going to go with it. It's called the River Lodge by 13 Stripes here on the Saluda River. It's our new location.
Done.
Debuting in March. We're done. I did it. We called it.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Words have power.
It's perfect.
Yes.
It's out there now.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Well, thank you for being on the show, Kenworth. We're really excited to kind of jump into today's topic. But before we talk about entrepreneurship and business, I first want you to introduce yourself to the viewers watching, and we can get a little bit familiar with what you do.
Sure. Yeah, so my name's Kenworth Reeves. First off, I'm a family man. I'm 5 beautiful kids, a beautiful wife, and way too many animals. I love business. I've been in business a long time. It's really all I've ever done. Most recently, I started a real estate investment company 6.5 years ago. And about the same time, started talking about the idea of what it looks like to open a brewery with a couple of good buddies. And so we did. And it's called 13 Stripes and located here in Greenville, South Carolina.
Outstanding beer.
Oh,
But
I did not pay him to say that.
Here's the thing. It's outstanding beer, but what happens around that beer and the community I found here, you know, the organization I run, I can't imagine Hims and Hops in my organization without 13 Stripes. So I just want to publicly say thank you, and for the community you're trying to build there.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
that matters.
Well, you mentioned 5 kids.
Yes.
Wife, animals.
Yes.
I have a fiance and a dog, and I'm trying to manage work and all of that. How do you manage that as a business owner, multiple businesses and all that? I mean, imagine your plate must be full.
It is. And apparently I like really full plates.
The plate's big.
That's right. That's right. You know, in some respects, I think it's harder where you are kind of getting started because everything's new. Everything's kind of difficult because you're learning, right? And in the process of learning, it's like learning how to walk is really tough. You fall down, you bump your head, but then you realize you just get up and you start walking and it becomes normal. It becomes a rhythm of life. Yes. And so I would say after my 3rd kid, it's like, oh, they just all kind of bolt on, you know? and you know, maybe business is the same. We'll see. You know, it comes with challenges and it takes real intention to sort of live a balanced life, if you will. I don't know. I think intention to me is the secret sauce. So being intentional and being very present in everything that you're doing makes it all work.
So in full transparency, I know Kenworth fairly well. We've had a lot of these conversations, but also talk about how you've done it holistically with your kids. What, like, you've brought your kids to meeting. I mean, just talk about, it's been incorporated. You didn't really, I mean, it might have been balanced, but I feel like you just said, no, it's one thing. This is our life, and this is how we're going to do it.
So thanks for saying that. And that is how I see life. It's one, it's like this river. There's not section, it's a river. This is what we do. You flow, you move. I've always incorporated my kids in everything that I do because they matter most to me. My family, I'm deeply committed to. So we've had the blessing to homeschool and to be at home a lot and to travel a lot. But even at home, it's like I take my kids to work with me. Even when we were building 13 Stripes, I mean, we took an old warehouse space, 8,000 square feet of space, and created something special. And, you know, for instance, outside of all the nights and weekends and, you know, pizza late at night and just trying to because we built the space out ourselves. There was one, you know, it's an old mill, been there since the 40s. There's a beautiful brick wall, and the bottom of the brick had this like caked on layer of paint that we couldn't sandblast, we couldn't pressure wash, we couldn't. And I said, kids, this is a hammer and this is a chisel. this is what you get to do for the next. And while dad's talking about this thing that will be, and it's going to be full of life and community and fun and something special, they're probably hammering and chiseling going, my dad's insane. This is the dirtiest warehouse I've ever been in. My hands are bleeding, I'm hungry, I'm tired. And then we came to, May 13th of 2017. And we had over 5,000 people come out to our grand opening, and they got to uniquely see what it was like to take a hammer and chisel to a wall that felt like it was the biggest wall in the world, and listen to your dad, who sounds kind of crazy, to, oh my gosh, this is real, and it's open, and people love it, so they got to experience that journey. So it's just been, we incorporate them in life and what we do.
That's so amazing what you said, because I know when we think about entrepreneurship and business, and I mean, I know there's been the thought of work-life balance, right? And then you have a lot of men watching who have this ambition. And I can say for me, out of full transparency, my ambition is birthed out of me not wanting to be an absent father.
That's right.
And it's wanting to have an ability to be a business owner while also being present at the recitals, the games, whatever I might need to be there for. But I've never thought of it in that opposite aspect of bringing the kids into business. Because I imagine, like you mentioned, there's a whole learning experience in that in itself.
Totally.
Seeing something from the beginning to the end. What do you think that kind of inclusiveness does as an impression on their minds, or even the whole family too?
I think it just creates this oneness around, so we have a family, our family motto, we might have a few, I told you one earlier, but a big one for us is, where we go one, we go all. So what I do, you do. What you do, I do. What you do affects me. What I do affects you. And we just became this sort of unit, this family unit that is just set the tone for everything that we do. And so, I think it's very important. You mentioned a book earlier, Garden City, and it may have been in that book. It may have been in that book that, I'm a man of faith, and this idea of separating our life, the question of, hey, how's your spiritual life?
Right.
I think if you were to look at Jesus and ask him, hey man, how's your spiritual life? I think he would look at you dumbfounded. What do you mean? This is life.
Right.
It's all life.
Yeah.
I'm spiritual. I'm a business guy. I'm a dad. I'm a brother. I'm a son. It's not segmented. It just is.
But our culture wants us to divorce our lives from other aspects of our lives. That's right. They want the nasty divorce, right? Just look at politics, right? They want the nasty divorce of, well, if you're a Christian, then you have to be this. They don't want you to be holistic. Say, no, I can be a Christian and be a party that you view not Christian. But I think when it comes to family, and my dad's awesome. I love my dad. He's one of my best friends. But the way he grew up, right, there was that divorce, right? It was work life, home life. That's right. And maybe divorce is too strong of a word, but this separation, disconnect, keep them separate, compartmentalize, right? And I think what we're seeing now is, specifically because of the pandemic, is families had to go insular. Right. And I'm hoping out of tragedy, I'm hoping to see some positive, that family units are more holistic. This idea of a river. That's right. That they're together more. I mean, I've been with my boys all the time, and they don't separate work life, dad life. We just simply say, hey, we got to go work. Yeah. And they're like, okay. Yeah. And then we give them a job. So now school is work for Titus. So that's how Titus makes money. We weren't going to pay him to do chores around the house. Not that it's a problem. If you pay your kids to do chores, it's fine. But just wasn't going to do it. But every time he reads a book, he gets $1. Nice. And then he's going to learn, we're going to teach him how to save, how to invest, how to give. Yeah. But he sees all of that with us, and that's why he wanted a job. So at 7, he wanted a job. And I think that goes with that holistic,
absolutely,
undisconnected life.
That's right.
One question I have too, though, with being a business owner, it's great when, the spouse is on board and the kids are on board. Do you think it's necessary for everyone to be on the same page? Like if you have, let's say there's someone watching who has this burning desire in them, they have this idea, they want to start this business, and their spouse just might not see the vision. And they're like, I don't really know. And they're feeling friction in their relationship. How can someone, I guess, elevate through that, navigate through that?
Well, I feel for you in that I have been blessed with a wife who is my best friend. And at the end of the day, it's like, she's my best friend before she's my wife. Like we'd love to go on a trip together or something, but I'd rather be with her. Like that's just the truth. And so she's always supported me. And I would say, honestly, that's been a secret sauce for me is she's literally, even the dumb stuff that I've done, she'd be like, I don't know if this makes sense, but I trust you. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's just this trust factor. It's like, I don't get it and I can't understand it because you think differently than I do, but I trust you to lead us well. That has served our family very well. And I think it would be almost impossible for me personally if my wife was not with me. Yeah. So that's a tough one. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it would have to be trust. At some point, they would just have to trust you to lead them well.
I think that's a perfect answer because when you say that, I think instantly to my parents who, I'm the youngest of four. And they mentioned everything I've done has been opposite of what the previous three have wanted. Yeah. And they literally, the conversations are usually like, you want to do what? You want to go into media? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, what do you need? So it's one of the things where regardless of how they feel about it, they want it to be successful. So they'll support me with what I need. Right. So I think that trust definitely is that secret sauce that can maybe put some wind in someone's sails.
And one of the things I've learned, and this is a new thought for me, so feel free to challenge and disagree, but I've learned that at least with Jessica, for her to trust me in the risk, I have to be consistent in the everyday normal. Yes. Does that make like, totally. I'm not taking meetings at 6 p.m. just because I want a night away from right? She needs to know that the dinner table is a priority so that the 2 times a month, I'm like, hey, I'm meeting someone for beers at 6, she's fine with it because that trust in the risk, I find is consistent in the everyday. It has to be there.
Huge, and that's 100%. I think those two, it's a left foot and a right foot.
Right. You know, walks together because you're never gonna have trust if you're not consistent.
That's right.
I was just gonna say that.
You're not gonna have it.
Yeah.
So Jessica's never argued with me about anything, but and she's asked questions. I mean, they're not. I mean, I've met your wife too. It's not like they rubber stamp stuff. Like I got questions, but they'll say, okay, I trust you, but it's because I've been consistent in that every day. So it's not that they don't ask questions, and their questions are helpful because they see it from a different point of view. But it's that, without consistency and trust. Whew.
How do you balance personal hardships with the business? Because, I mean, there's a lot of things that pull at us in our lives, right? Whether it be for some folks who are starting a business while working a 9-to-5, starting a business while being in a relationship, or for health issues, for example. I know me, years ago, when I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, that put me in the hospital for a while. And afterwards, I had the possibilities of flare-up, which, might alter how I do things. So how does different, unforeseen circumstances in life impact how you navigate the waters of business?
I think resilience is a key component to being a good husband, good father, good businessman, good community leader. And I think going through those kinds of hardships, be it physical, I think if you can learn to get through them and you can find meaning in all of it, then you can sort of channel that into this muscle called resilience. And I think that has been important for me. 5 years ago, I went through my own battle where, he's got a beautiful bald head.
Listen, I think you're in my top 3 favorite bald men.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to hold on to mine as long as I can.
we will live vicariously through you until then. Yeah, so 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called Alopecia areata that I had great, wonderful hair.
It was really good.
I mean, it was amazing.
Shampoo commercial type hair?
100%.
Oh, yeah. First time I met him, that thing flowed.
Oh, man, it was crazy. And then, and it was part of my look and a part of my brand, and it became a part of my identity. And I didn't realize it until I started losing some hair. And then ultimately, fast forward, and the doc said, hey, I hate to tell you this, but you're going to lose all of your hair. And that was a dark time for me because that was in January, and by August, I shaved my head. And those 8 months of just watching my brand fall off, my identity be shaken, because I didn't realize that it had attached myself to who I thought I was. And so I went through that process of having to lose that while trying to open a brewery, while being sort of the front man and face of a brewery, while building a real estate investment company. And it was tough. But on the other side of that, and when I realized that it didn't change my life. In fact, it made me better, and I was able to find the beauty in it. And it took me actually losing who I thought that I was to find out who Kenworth truly is. Wow. And when I made it through that, it changed me at my core, and it gave me this new sort of wind in my sail for who I am, and this idea of being resilient and being able to make it through anything. And I think for me, at my core, it's like, because I know who I am. So it's like, you cannot shake that ever again. And so, and using that and translating that and using that sort of energy into my business has been a tremendous force. So it's just, let's go. It's not going to stop us. Right. Can't stop us. Yeah. And so, I think just using those moments and those things that happen to us and redirecting it, instead of using it as pain and suffering, how do we rechannel that and reframe it to where it's beautiful and it changes us, and we can, instead of flexing our depression muscle, we flex our resilient muscle. We flex our, hey, I love people care for us when we're down. People help us when we're down. People, I think learning to reframe those experiences into beautiful experiences move the needle forward.
Now, you're not the only business here. I know, Jonathan, you run a business as well, and I'd love to get some of your insight on rolling with those uncertainties and rolling with those unforeseens, because I think there's a lot of different environments that men find themselves in when starting a business, and it can get hostile very quick. I'd like to get some insights on your experience through that process.
Yeah, and I'm living in a practical one right now. So since August, I think it was 9th, my family and I have lived in our house for 5.5 weeks. So almost 6 months. We've only been in our house 5.5 weeks, and those houses have been in Greenville. Some have been outside of Greenville. Some have been on opposite sides of town where I normally would work. And so we've been out of the house, so a place of security, right, for my boys, for us as a family, a place of rest, because when you're living with somebody, you got 3 boys running around, the least you can do is hang out with them that night when the boys aren't running around. And we wanted to. It wasn't like it was forced, but there was just a lot going on. And what I realized was this is where this holistic thing makes sense. Because if I had kept work and family separate, I think emotionally I would have been divided, almost of 2 minds, which that's never profitable. So, how we've overcome it is we invite our kids into it. Hey, the house, we can't go back to the house. We got to live with, Mr. Barry and Miss Tracy. We're going to go to the lake and stay there. Just this idea of communicating to them, hey, this is a hard time. But then owning it to myself and being honest when people ask me, how are you doing? And not just going, oh, good, fine. Just being honest, I'm grateful, but man, things are weird right now. And here's what's going on. So I think overcoming them, I love the idea of resilience, but I would just say presence goes right around with it. I can't get to tomorrow unless I'm faithful to today. So do what needs to be done today, and then do all you can, and then sleep well. And then wake up to be resilient in the moment, but not 8 days ahead. You have no idea what the problems or successes will be 8 days ahead. You just have this moment. So worrying about everything only is going to get in your way. So if you've got conflict, deal with whatever you have to in that moment. Don't create a narrative that will almost paralyze you.
Yeah. I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about responsibility as a business owner. because I think there's a lot of responsibility as a family man, as a father, and you know, when you have a household to worry about. But now, as a business owner, I imagine that comes with employees, that comes with other people's livelihoods that depend on your decisions. Yeah. And I could even say in the day and age that we find ourselves, there's a lot of moral and social obligations that come in terms of the responsibility in there too. How do you shoulder that? And I guess what are some practices for people watching who can maybe learn how to best handle that environment? I know that's heavy.
Yeah, that's heavy. Man, you know, especially after having gone through collectively what we've gone through in 2020, you know, building culture and building team and building relationships is always tough. It's the most difficult part of running a business is the people aspect of it, because you're dealing with humans and we're emotional and we get upset about things, and we, you know, it's just this myriad mix of different emotions for different kinds of people, and you put them all together and it gets interesting. I think though, being a leader and being responsible for people, I think there's a healthy weightiness to that I would probably go back to this idea, like the decisions I make today as a business owner and a business leader affect my team. What I do today affects my team and how they survive and how they pay their bills and how they pay for their kids' college. And I think it makes me work harder, and it makes me make better decisions knowing that I have these people that are depending on me. And I think the other thing is we just have to listen. Being a good listener, because we live in a day and age, everybody wants to talk. And we've all got opinions, and we're all quick to share them. But very few people actually take the time to truly listen. Not kind of listen, truly listen. Where I know what you're saying, and I'm going to try to understand what you're saying and process this and understand your point of view. And I think that's a valuable, I think that is an essential element for any business leader today, is the ability to truly listen to the people that work with them and understand their needs.
General question for both of you guys. What are some lessons in entrepreneurship and business that's helped you in your capacity as a father and a family man?
So what lesson have I learned as in entrepreneurial business that affects my fatherhood?
Yeah. Because I know there's a narrative, right, of like really good businessman might be an absent father, right? Or a really good father, is he a great businessman? Yeah. So the question is intended to maybe debunk that myth that you can't be a good businessman and a good father. There should be a way to do both, and I think both of you are a testament to that. Yeah. And I'd like to kind of know what that sauce might be.
I don't know what the sauce is, but I'll give maybe an ingredient.
Sure.
Right? I'll give an ingredient. And I ask my boys to introduce me when they're with me to other people. Like, they'll say, "So what do you do?" And I'll say, "Titus, tell them what I do." And they're talkers. But I do that to make sure that the man I am in front of hundreds or thousands of people and what I communicate to my child is the same. That he's like, no, that, you know, my daddy, typically he'll say, my daddy talks a lot and he does hymns and hops. Like, that's typically which I mean, those are kind of the two things, right? I talk a lot and I do hymns and hops. And I like hearing how they explain me, like how they introduce me. Yeah. And then I'll ask them introduction, and then I'll say, hey, if I had to tell somebody what it's like being my son, what would you say? And just hearing what they would say. And sometimes it's like, oh, I don't like that. But getting their opinion of me in the moment keeps me in check, because my wife and those, I don't care how well I am out here, if I fail there. So getting their perspective of me is something I do regularly.
And maybe the funnel works the other way. Maybe there's lessons you've learned in family or fatherhood that has helped in business.
Yeah, a couple of things came to my mind. I think one, having 5 kids, conflict resolution. Being able to deflate an experience that could become problematic or dramatic pretty quickly is essential. And, you know, my grandmother used to have this saying that I always thought was stupid as a kid. She'd be like, don't turn a molehill into a mountain. I'm like, what does that mean? That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And the older I get, I find myself saying this to my kids, like, don't take something that's really small and let it become really big. It's unnecessary. In regards to conflict and drama, right? And so I think that's been a huge, kind of on both ends, right? Like running teams and then running my family team is that sort of conflict resolution. A lot of different people, a lot of different, and I'd say the other thing is, the other part of that is leading well and creating a vision and say, hey, we're gonna go this way. And getting everybody on board for a vision that makes sense.
Well, don't you spend some time at the beginning of every year doing that, not only for business, but for your family, like getting away and
I do.
reflecting?
Yeah. I didn't, my timing's off this year. I'm actually going next Tuesday. And I take 3 days and I go find a cabin in the middle of nowhere. And I go up and I get by myself and with God, and I think and pray and reflect or yell or whatever I have to do, depending on the season of life that I'm in, just to get real clear on where I'm going. Because I think clarity matters more than ever. And we're in a time of mass confusion. And really, what we desire and what a good leader, be it in the family, be it in the business, be it in the church, be it in media, is you need to be able to provide clarity. And so there's times that I just have to go get away and by myself to sort of get rid of all the noise and all the distractions and get very clear on what my vision is for my family, my business, and my life.
It's amazing because I've always said, like, you know, a lot of people ask, you know, where am I supposed to go? What's my passion? What I'm supposed to do? And I say, okay, well, when was the last time you were quiet and by yourself? Yeah. And a lot of times it's oxymoronic. We need to kind of stop to find out where we're going because we're busy running through life so much that we forget to check the road signs and end up being on the wrong coast in the wrong country and we don't know what's going on. So that's definitely very, very valuable. Last question here.
Hold on, can I interject real quick?
Please.
So on that note, you'll find this fascinating. On that idea, so I read this study that they dropped, it's like 486 people, and they took them at different times, and they dropped them in the same patch of woods, basically, using basic rise in the east, sets in the west, like here, try to get to this waypoint. No GPS, no anything, and just walk. Like 99% of the people, do you know what they did? We as humans, what would we do? So they put like a tracker on them, right, where they could see how they moved. 99% of the people went in circles, even though they thought they were going straight. They were going in circles. And the idea is like, we as humans, if we don't know exactly where we are going, we are hardwired to walk in circles. Without a very clear vision, a very clear path forward, we will walk in circles. And that just stuck with me, resonated. So even more, clarity, vision. This is where we're going constantly. Let me tell you where we're going.
And walking in circles leads to walking in a trench. Because at some point you wear all that down.
Yes.
And you're just way stuck.
And you feel stuck, you can't get out.
And you're exhausted. And you're busy. You're like, but I've been trying. It's the same. It's America today. Yeah. It's culture today.
I put all this work and I didn't go anywhere. Right. You didn't check your vision.
That's right. Yeah, you didn't know where you're going.
What's been the most rewarding thing about being a father and a business owner and having those two conjoined together?
Man, all of it. It's so good. I mean, I'll tell you, I was, literally yesterday, I'm pulling my boys. So we homeschool typically. This year, we sent my two older boys into full-time school. And it's just a tough year for them to start school. And it's with COVID and virtual stuff and a lot of like busy work, and the teachers are frustrated and the parents. It's just 4 weeks ago, I'm sitting in Mexico with my wife, and I look over at her and I said, hey, the world has changed, and the world is changing. This is not going well for us. This school is not, it's not going well for us. This is not serving our family well. I know we said we'd give it a year and we do this. And I said, but it's not, my kids aren't flourishing. It's not, our family's not flourishing within this. I said, we have options. I said, let's pull the kids, let's buy a damn RV, and let's go. And she goes, and I just threw it out there. We're sitting on a beach in Mexico, and I just like hit me. And she goes, okay. I said, girl, don't tease me.
Right.
Don't you do that
Because I got
to
the
me.
RV already in the cart.
That's right.
It's just a
That's
simple
right.
push of a button here.
So we had some wonderful family conversations. Everything we do is very inclusive. So we went to dinner a couple times. We sat down. We had really good discussions of what that would look like. And yesterday, I pulled the kids. This morning, I was going to take my boys to school. I acted like I made a wrong turn. I had my wife with me, and we took them to breakfast instead. And we said, hey, we're pulling you. Doesn't mean it's vacation. You're going to do a lot of things. You're going to keep up with school, clearly. We won't be going to school. And by the way, we're buying an RV.
Nice.
I've already bought it.
You did?
Yeah.
I knew it was close.
And we're hitting the road.
When are you leaving?
Probably next weekend. Just do a little
Good.
like 4-day trip.
Test trip.
Yeah. And probably the month of May, I'll be off grid. You won't see me. We'll be gone.
You know what I'm also thrilled about? That now I have a friend that has an
100%.
RV.
Yeah. We can't park it at my house.
Yeah.
I'll come check it out.
That's right. Of course.
Yeah.
It's mine, it's yours.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question, but being able to do both those things well and intentionally has been a tremendous blessing.
Not to try to concise, but would you say that how I heard you, how I put that together is it's the flexibility of time that you have.
Totally.
Right. Is that how it is?
Yes. Yeah, and that comes with good delegation too, and having a great team, a team that you can trust and say, hey, listen, I'm going to do this sort of crazy thing. Business doesn't work without you doing what has to be done in a way that we've set a clear vision for, but I won't be here to lead us. And so, sort of back to team, culture, trust, vision.
I like it. Jonathan, same question.
I mean, so I've come to realize that time is the most important asset. Like it's just, I won't get tomorrow. I'm not promised I won't get yesterday. I'm not promised tomorrow, and yeah, people want to make more money, right? I wish I would have more money, but if I had more money, but less time with my kids, well, I just have to know what the trade-off is there, right?
Yeah.
I talked to some dads, and this is not a problem, but it just doesn't hit me to work 15-hour days so that I get 1 week off with my kids. I mean, that doesn't cerebrally work for me. But I know some guys are in that situation. That's a decision Jessica and I made. I think what I've enjoyed most about it is two things. One, being in this position, I get to work on problems that I don't want to leave for my kids. It's become a big thing for me. So I've pulled out of a lot of things in the community, in the city, in the church, just kind of gone out here because I wanted to readdress what problems do I not want to leave as an inheritance to my kids. We talk about leaving a positive inheritance, but if we don't deal with things, I'm just leaving that too. So I get to work on the problems that I don't want them to have to address in the community, in the city, in the church, in our family, right? I mean, everyone has family heritage, and if we're not careful, we'll just adopt the family heritage rather than saying, well, how can this be better? So it's that. And the second thing is, I feel like I'm building something. I feel like everything I'm building right now, I could see my kids taking over in 20 years. I mean, we've kind of had this conversation, Hims and Hops in 20 years, still meeting at 13 Stripes, run by one of my boys or
Titus the Great.
Yeah. So that I feel like what I'm building, I can see, same thing with Jessica's business, being a chef. She talks about bringing the kids into the kitchen. And so I think we're being able to build something that we can leave to our kids for them to decide if they want it or not. I think that's what's fun about doing it too. Being okay with our kids saying no at the end. Like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Okay, celebrate it and go from there. But I think that's what's been fun. They get to see that every day.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, I wish we had more time.
Yeah.
Kenworth.
Buddy. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been amazing.
What a pleasure. What an
Yeah,
honor.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, as always.
Always, my friend.
Yes, sir. Appreciate
Kenworth,
you
this
being
was
on
great,
the
as always.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And to you guys making it to the end, we can't thank you enough. And as always, I have to break down some of the nuggets that were here in this episode. It's harder where you are. When you said that, a lot of us, as we're trying to get the plane off the ground, that's actually what takes the most energy. When it's out in the air, it flies because it knows what to do. So for anybody that's in the lift off stage, I know it's hard, I know it's difficult, but this is the most energy you're going to have to exert, hopefully. Also, it's trust. You know, how can your spouse or the people around you support you? They have to trust you, and that comes with consistency. Consistency of showing up in the normal so they can trust the risk. And also, there are so many I want to break down, but we need to listen as leaders, not just in business, but in our families, in our communities, around our friends. We have one mouth, two ears. That's not by mistake. So try and listen more than you speak. And then going to the bottom here, the flexibility of time, something to leave your kids. There's a myth out there that you can't be a present father and a great businessman, or you can't be a great businessman and a present father. But what if being a great businessman allows you to be a present father? Let's start having that narrative out there. I wish you all best of luck in your ventures. I wish you all best of luck in your relationships as well. And I appreciate you rocking with us this whole time. Go out there and be a modern man.